My name is Robert S. I'm a businessman from Mpumalanga in South Africa. I solemnly swear that the following account is truthful and accurate. Furthermore, I undertake not to seek compensation or remuneration from any party as a result of the events described here. On the 1st of October of 2009, I hired a Toyota Yaris sedan from Europcar at Kruger International Airport. The same day I set off for Pretoria, a distance of about 340 kilometers by road. The first part of the journey is through relatively mountainous terrain. The road is mostly a single carriageway as it climbs up the escarpment from the low veld up to the high veld. I was driving quite slowly and took the opportunity to acquaint myself with the unfamiliar controls of the car. The traffic was also quite heavy at that time of the afternoon. Around about the halfway mark of the journey, near a place called Wonderfontein, the road widens to become a dual carriageway, 2 lanes in either direction. This is up on the central plateau of the country. The landscape's fairly regular. Long stretches of straight, relatively level road. The traffic was quite light by now, so I increased speed to about indicated speed of maybe 140 kilometers an hour, which I estimated to be a little bit over the speed limit of 120, and I was cruising along at that speed. About 30 kilometers before the town of Middelburg, I was cruising along up a hill, getting ready to overtake a procession of heavy vehicles. Moved out into the right-hand lane, probably a couple hundred meters in front of me, when one of the trucks pulled out into the right-hand lane to overtake. So now both my lanes were obstructed and there was oncoming traffic as well. I had to react pretty quickly. Took my foot off the accelerator, started applying the brakes, except that engine keeps going at full revs. Okay, I just need to pause to explain. This isn't something that's completely unusual. I actually own a Toyota Taz that's got these thick rubber floor mats, aftermarket things, not Toyota spec. And they have a habit of becoming pushed forward and then wedged behind the accelerator pedal. So the first thing that I did was to dig the heel of my boot into the floor mat and try and pull it back. Still nothing. Okay. All of this is happening quite quickly, of course. I'm running out of options. I'm approaching the trucks in front quite quickly. So at this point I just went instinctively into emergency braking routine, basically pumping the brakes while simultaneously changing down through gears. Engine screams, of course, the revs go up. It's not very good for the engine, but then neither is riding into the back of a truck. It slowed the vehicle down enough. At that stage I just slipped it into neutral, and then I had time to react. At some point there was a gap in the oncoming traffic. This guy was going 0.1 of a kilometer faster than the truck he was trying to overtake. I just overtook them all on the solid line. Sivutumlilo. Please don't find me. And proceeded with the journey. Anyway, the engine kept running at high revs. Once I was on the open road with no obstructions cruising along, I took the opportunity to wedge my toe in, the toe of my boot behind the accelerator pedal to try and pull it back. I used to own an old Peugeot 504 with a kind of a sticky throttle, mechanical linkages, probably the cable not lubricated properly or something. The point is that the pedal was in its normal position. It seemed to be in the upright position. It wasn't lying down on the floor. There seemed to be a bit more play in it possibly, but there wasn't really anything wrong with the pedal itself. The problem seemed to be there, under the bonnet, rather than here in the cabin of the car. It was as if the car had a mind of its own, irrespective of what I was doing to the controls. But there wasn't much I could do about it, so I carried on driving. At some point the revs seemed to return to normal on their own. I didn't really notice. It's an open road. I'm going at relatively high speed. In any case, it's a little Yaris. It doesn't have a particularly powerful engine. Luckily in South Africa mostly we drive manual cars. It was pretty easy just to coast, to slip it into neutral and coast when there was a problem. The problem did recur a few times during the course of the weekend. Same sort of thing, just car's got a mind of its own, revs shooting up, irrespective of what I'm doing to the controls. When I returned the car to the hire company, I mentioned the problem to the driver who came to pick up the car. And I kind of thought, look, it's a simple problem and they'll pick it up at the next service and they'll sort it out. A few months later, on the 5th of December 2009, I again hired a Toyota Yaris sedan from the same company. In fact, I asked for a Yaris specifically. They're good little cars. I had my family with me this time, so I was driving a little bit slower. But at the Middelburg toll plaza, the same thing happened again. I had a bit more time to react, so it wasn't as dramatic, but pretty much exactly the same thing. Lift my foot off the accelerator and engine just doesn't slow down at all. Again, the problem recurred a few times during the course of an 800-kilometer round trip. As far as I can tell, the incidents seem to have the following in common. The problem only occurred after I'd been driving for an hour or two. It never happened to me on a cold engine. The other thing is that the throttle would get stuck in the open position after I'd been driving or had been accelerating with pretty much full throttle. But bear in mind again, it wasn't the pedal itself, it's just the throttle. As I accelerated, it was almost like an old speedo cruise, speed control thing, when you forget to turn the speed control off. That was the sensation, sort of a bit of a lag, and then it just carries on going. I'm not sure if either of those facts is relevant. I am prepared to answer any relevant questions from Toyota's engineers or whoever the authorities might be who are trying to solve this problem. They're welcome to contact me via the YouTube messaging system or else the local Toyota dealers in Nelspruit. I've given them my details. I would strongly suggest that you try to get a hold of one of these vehicles and recreate the conditions and see if you can't recreate the same problem under the same set of circumstances. I'd be willing to assist in this regard. I'm almost tempted to hire the car again and try and get it to freak out again. I hope this problem can be resolved before anyone else is injured or killed. I hereby place this video in the public domain and give permission for it to be reproduced without further consent. Thank you.